Hello, world. This is the Brother to Brother Show. I'm your host, K Mo. Thank you for taking this journey with us with real men, real problems, real solutions. Let's go. All right, we're back to the Brother to Brother Show. Thank you so much, listeners, for listening in. And today we have another wonderful guest on. We have Coach on, and Coach is going to talk about getting married again. And so I know I talk about relationships a lot and what it looks like for many different people. But if you can talk a little bit about your previous relationships, and then we'll go right back into it and how you got back into dating again. So, that's a difficult thing, and we want to know a little bit about what that looks like for you. So, Coach, let's go right into it.
Okay, well, I'm Coach. I'm an environmental engineer. Live down here in FLA. And my previous marriage, it lasted about 11 years. We dated for about 3 years before then. But it was like almost, right after college. We dated while both of us in school, undergrad. And, how I think women and men have this concept of, graduate high school, graduate college, get married, have 2.5 kids, get a house, with two cars, and get a dog, and then life ends. But a lot of people don't realize that life just beginning. And so I got married after grad school, and
walk us through that. Why did you choose your wife at that time? What was it about her that you said? I know you talked about that's what you wanted at that age, but talk about where you were at that place, why you chose her, and then the transition from that.
Well, that's funny. I chose her because she was my girlfriend for 3 years, and it just seemed as though it was the next step. Not necessarily knowing if it was the right person. And I mean that. Now that I can look back and I'm a lot older and wiser of it. You date in college and both of you are moving forward in your careers, and you just think, okay, well, this is the next step, is to, get married and start a family. But sometimes that may not be the person for you. And I'm not saying she wasn't, but it just, for me, it just seemed like it was the next thing to do. If that makes any sense,
right?
To your callers,
and you say the next thing to do. Where did you get that mindset from? Parents, society,
Society and her. I mean, to be honest with you, she was teaching at the time, and I remember the conversation we had, and it was to the point where it was just like, so what are we doing? What are we doing now? And, I didn't feel pressured then, but within that 6-7 months, I did. And not to say that the marriage was a bad thing, because it wasn't, because I have 2 beautiful kids from that marriage, and I learned a lot throughout that partnership.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So after that, you took some time off. How was that healing process? Did you have to heal?
After the divorce, we were married for so long, and then after, I wouldn't date when we were actually going through the divorce. I would not. But after the divorce was final, you just date. And I took some time and, dated different people just to see, what I wanted. Wasn't serious about anything at the time, because I was in no position to give someone, my all at the time. I was still very hurt and very almost shameful from being divorced.
Right.
It's like a failure,
Yeah.
and I'm just being 100% honest with you. I felt a little bit shameful with it, so I would not open up in the very, very beginning, and I probably lost, some very nice young ladies because of it. But it was okay at the time.
Okay. What did you learn during the time of dating, especially getting back out there?
And the main thing I learned was, I wanted a partner. I wanted someone who was going to grow with me, someone who was going to, like I said, grow with me and teach me more than what I had already learned. And I wanted to teach her as well. I think in my previous relationship, and let me tell you, I'm not pointing one finger, because if I point one finger at her, three fingers are pointing back at me. I'm just giving an example. I think she got to the point where she got comfortable, and I think a lot of our women get comfortable in a relationship and almost forget that you still have to be in a relationship, and it's not just day to day. You go to work, come home, go to work, come home, go to work, come home. No, you still have to. I thought I was doing the best I could as far as keeping things fresh and trying to keep things fresh and new. But it seems like sometimes it was falling on deaf ear.
Do you think that because you didn't know what you wanted fully, or you all both weren't at a place where you really knew what you really wanted, that caused a lot of problems in your relationship?
It could have, yeah. It definitely could have. I mean, we were both pretty successful as far as our careers, but I think that we may have been growing because we were very young. Right out of college, we were still very young. We were growing in two different directions,
right?
And that's okay. I see it now that it's okay. I mean, to the point where we have two beautiful kids, and she's a hell of a mother. And hell, I give her Mother of the Year outside of my own mom. But the relationship, as far as her and I, it was best that because I may have been holding her back. I mean, she's written books now. She's got her PhD. She's doing major things. So she's written 2 books. So she's writing her second book now. So I'm very proud of the accomplishments that she has made throughout the years. But it wasn't just for us. It just wasn't worth.
Yeah. So I'm trying to dive into more so after you dated for a while, and you and I have talked about the getting out and dating for a while, how difficult it was for you, and just difficult in general. Tell me, even though you said you've had your mother and you have a stepfather there and things like that, what I've normally been able to see is like people who I think a village has to be there so that a relationship can manifest to what it is. I don't think that a relationship can just be what it is and you don't have certain things around you. And it's all I'm really trying to say is support, right? You got to have support around you regardless. I mean, for you to get through college, you got to have support. For you to get through a marriage, you have to get over a marriage. You have to have a level of support, because we talked about you going to therapy. So that's some level of support. Like, what do you feel like was missing from that? Even though you said you had, your parents were around, do you feel like that they gave you the level of support? Did she have support in her corner as well? Or what do you feel like besides just not being in the right place? What were some of the things that you felt like really did not allow for it not to manifest into what it was?
Well, if you're asking if she has support, parent support, or girlfriend support, it's kind of a tricky question, because I would have to say no, not the right support. I mean, she had her girlfriend, just backing her on everything that she said. Girl, you gotta take that, you gotta do that. But all in all, girlfriend is single too. She had. I mean, even like I'd say maybe 3 or 4 years ago, she called me and we had a conversation. She was in a relationship, and I guess it had dissolved. And she called me and she asked me, she said, "Was I that hard?" Her question was I that hard to live with? And then once I started giving her the truth, she didn't like it, and she started saying things that I did. I said, "Hey, I didn't ask you what I did. You asked me a question." She wasn't ready to hear, and a lot of people aren't ready to hear the truth about themselves. And my mom is a licensed psychologist, so I'm able to accept and hear the negative things, that I need to hear about myself.
Okay.
And let's see if I ask the question. I was always taught, if you're not prepared to hear the answer,
don't ask.
Don't ask
right.
the question.
Right.
Please don't ask.
So let's go into that piece, right? Let's go to that piece. So what was it about yourself that you felt like you needed to work on to be a better man, husband, partner in your next relationship?
Communication. And not only just communication, but definitely communication, but I gave up a little bit too soon. When I would do something and it wasn't, I was looking for recognition, or, hey, middle of the week, just a Thursday, I'm sending cards at work for no reason, and there was no recognition. I was like, oh, thank you. It was just dry. And then in my mind, I thought that maybe, she's already checked out. That's what I'm thinking. But as I went through therapy, as I said, I did, as I went through therapy, they recognized it's like, no, you're looking for something, for someone else to do something to satisfy my own need. And I shouldn't. I should just do it and leave it alone. And just say, hey, if they recognize it, they do. If they don't, they don't.
Right. But we talk about that offline a lot, right? So, but that's your personality too. You also want to feel they may not jump for joy or jump off a cliff or something like that, but you want somebody to stop and at least show you and appreciate those because you go above beyond that. And you want somebody to at least acknowledge it in some way. And I think we've all been guilty towards that. But what I've heard you say on multiple times, that was not the case. And it was like you said earlier, it was more so people get comfortable.
Get comfortable, yes.
And I think that's important because I'm a believer that as well. I always talk about the book that my old CEO talked about, which was Going Beyond Z, and it's a Dr. Seuss book. And I think most people go to Z. Good people, hardworking people go to Z, right? Because that's the letter of the alphabet that people push to. But it's beyond Z, right? And so you may ask yourself, well, what is Z that's different? Well, I had a buddy of mine, his daughter went off to college, and I completely forgot about it, bro. I sent her like a cashier's check and put it in a card, gave it to her for her graduation. It wasn't a lot of money, but because I knew how much he meant to me, and I knew that was a big deal, and though she was getting stuff from people that she had really solid relationships with, that was great. But maybe about 3 weeks ago, I got something in the mail, and I don't open my mail all the time. I open it, but it may sit in my mailbox for a while. But I was looking, I was like, who is this person who's thanking me on a card? And I was just like, I get it. That's beyond Z, because most people would say, thank you. But if you're going beyond, and even though, again, that's not my child, that's not my blood, because that's my boy and we're cool, I love him to death, I'm going to do the right thing. And I almost missed that situation, right? And I called him on. I was like, man, most people don't do that stuff anymore. He said, if she gonna take the money, she gonna take the money. She gotta go and sit there with everybody that gave her something and do it. And I said, that's it. That's the Beyond Z that most people don't have. And I think you might feel, may not feel appreciated, and men can find, and women can too, right? You're doing too much, and you have a lot of stuff going on at work. You da 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 da, but it's not about you. It's about the other person. And because you can stop doing your busy day, and you got stuff going on, all you really want to do is wake up every day and make sure that person is good. And so with that, talk to me about the new person.
Well, we met about a little over a year ago.
Right.
Well, let me lead up to that, actually. I dated off and on different individuals. Nothing, you and I spoke about this offline, nothing necessarily that I saw a future with. But, I moved from one area to another and dated, just casually dated. And I met a young lady who was everything that I needed, and wanted. And all the values of life that connected with me. And I knew from probably a week, we went out, and maybe the next day, we pretty much haven't been apart since then.
Okay, let me step in real quick. I'm gonna tell all the truth, right? I feel like you're a lover. I feel like you love hard. You're a romantic person, and you also sometimes can be. I call you Pippi Le Pew. I think you could be in the clouds sometimes. That's okay for you. But I also feel like you really love hard. And so I would say that every relationship that I've known you to be in, you've carried out and you've been in that relationship. I'm like, yeah, this could be the one too. Honestly. Now, with that said, and me being outside and listening to you, what about her? Was it? What about her made you say, I don't want to stop. I don't want to even be with anybody else anymore. I think that she is what I believe to be the future coach.
It was everything about her. As they say, she checked every box that there was, if there's such a thing. Even to the point, you and I talk offline, and almost to like an interview, right? You don't bring up these questions back to back. You bring them up here and you bring them up there just to see how, she reacts to this or how they react to that and what they feel about this. So, all those things were brought up and kind of put to the test on a lot of them. And she answered them and dealt with each and every one of them with grace and with pride. And I knew that you knew, well, you knew from earlier on, but, she's the one that I asked to marry me about a month ago.
Okay. So what is that like for you now, being in this new space? What is it now when you're being in a new part of your life? What, 10 years, 12 years out of a marriage, and what, maybe almost 20 years from being newly married? What does it feel like now, being at a space when you know that for the rest of your life, and hopefully for the rest of your life, this is the person that you'll be with? And what would you tell men out there who are struggling with possibly getting back? Because I hear a lot of times, women are saying like, yeah, after the first one, it's hard to find a man who wants to jump back or even be in a relationship with a man again. Like, what does that?
I think a lot of men they have that ill feeling about getting back into it marriage-wise, mainly because of divorce and because of what they lose. I mean, I lost a lot, and I don't need to get into it, but the main thing was my mom said something to me. She said, "You made it once, make it again," and I still take that to me today. So a lot of men are like, "Man, she got this, she got that, she got all this. You made it then, just make it again. It's just going to take a little bit more time." So I respect and I love the institution of marriage. I do. I love coming home to that one individual. I love being able to go to church with her and introducing her to as my wife. That's something that I love personally. I want to be able to grow with her, and not only grow with her, grow our family, and grow our lives together. So it's a little bit different for me when I say that, like I said, I love the institution of marriage. I think it's something very special, and I hold it very high.
Yeah, I'm glad you were able to be vulnerable and say that. Also, glad you were able to be vulnerable and say, yeah, you lost a lot of stuff. I mean, I hear that all the time, man. Like, guys don't say it, but that's what they mean, right? And so I think it's a level.
And that's where the anger or the frustration comes. It comes from them losing, but you have to have somebody in your corner. You have to have somebody in your corner and say, okay, son, babe, or dude, look, one of your brothers to sit there and say, listen, you can make that again. Let her have that, or let them have that, and let's start working on, the future. And I look at it as my son's just got it. It just went to my boys, even though she got it. But I look at it in a different perspective, and it's okay because I'm going to build something even, as Jay-Z would say, build, you make one hole, make another.
Yeah, thank you for giving that that idea, that thought, that new thing that I always try to feel like is our barrier. When I do coaching and talk to other people about like, what is that aha moment? Because I feel like it's just something that's not said. And though men may, because we're brought, I mean, and to us, man, we have to be that way. We have to be tough. We have to be strong as Black men and men of color, because I mean, when you show weakness, it's a sense of what? Vulnerability. And I know that I don't believe there's anything wrong for us talking. I feel like for men to even have conversation, that's a level of strength that we've never had before, right? Because it's showing a sense of vulnerability, and everybody has that issue and problem. But us having these conversations, Coach, and being able to acknowledge some of those things that we've done wrong, that you've done wrong, not putting it on one person, one thing, but what is the issue at hand? How can we resolve it? How can we be better people? How can we be better men at the end of the day? That's something that I don't see too much of or put it out there in the world. And I appreciate you coming on and telling your story to our listeners. And hopefully our listeners will go back and say, hey, listening to this, this is not something that you have to battle by yourself. And there is a success. There is a fruit of your labor, especially from our last conversation and podcast that we had about, you can get through it. And this is what it looks like. So thank you, Coach. We are here at the Brother to Brother Show. We're signing out. Please know we love you. Work with us, be with us, and know we're coming from the heart. This is the Brother to Brother Show.